Clearly I'm speaking from the back benches to support my friend in the proposal of this bill. I think we've heard very clearly from many that it is not what many of us would like to see happening in terms of abortions. However, we feel so strongly about the voice of those with Down syndrome, and I have many in my constituency. I think especially today of Hannah Wilson, such a happy young person who I speak with often, and how she feels that what has been spoken about here today is very distressing. And I want to say to Hannah that I will always stand up for you, Hannah, and I will always stand up for those people who don't have as strong a voice as some people have in this chamber today. So I do want to commend my friend for bringing this piece of legislation today. I know the amount of work that he has put in to this. And of course, this is not a technical or a statistical piece of legislation. We're talking about real lives. We're talking about real people who are our constituents, who feel that we don't value them. And I think that that is incredibly sad today. And I've listened, I share a constituency with the chairman for the Health Committee, and I just ask him to reflect on some of the things that he said today. I know my friend from the Ulster Unionist Party from the same constituency will view those comments as being very disrespectful to many of our constituents who have Down syndromes and non-life-threatening disabilities. But I mean, that is a matter for him. I have to say also I'm very distressed that Claire Bailey would seek to equate this matter with violence against women. Of course, it's nothing of the sort. All of the women in my party, all of the women in the Ulster Unionist Party feel as strongly about violence against women as anybody else. Of course we do, because we are very concerned about our daughters and what they have to put up with as they walk about the streets of various cities. And I really find it astonishing, Mr. Speaker, that someone would try and take my voice away in relation to the violence against women just because I don't agree with that particular person in relation to the taking of life through abortion. And I feel incredibly strongly about that. But I very strongly believe that we do need to come forward with a strategy on violence against women, and I hope that the Justice Minister will bring that forward in the near future. I know it's something that many of us in the Executive will want to discuss tomorrow. It does really upset me, Mr. Speaker, when I listen to people talk about women's rights as if those of us who believe in supporting those who have disabilities and Down syndromes should not have a voice. Well, let me say this. People in this House will not take away my voice to stand up for women who believe in protecting those young people who have Down syndrome and who have a value in our society. I feel very strongly about that, and I have been deeply saddened. I didn't plan to speak on this bill today, but I've been trying to keep an eye on what's been going on, and I've been really distressed about some of the things that I've heard from some of the members in this House today, and I wanted to put the record straight today. This is a devolved matter, as the member for North Antrim, Mr Allister, has pointed out, but that some people seek to hide behind the skirts of the Secretary of State in relation to this matter, and they shouldn't do that. Because if they do believe in devolution, and I've heard much over the weekend from members of the SDLP and members of Sinn Féin about the British government having an office here in Northern Ireland and how that is going to damage the devolution settlement, notwithstanding the fact that that's in the New Decade New Approach Agreement, may I say, and people should look at the New Decade New Approach Agreement and read that again. But this is a matter for this House, and I feel very strongly about it. As someone who's an Anglican, I do feel obliged to comment on the issues that Sinead McLaughlin raised in relation to the churching of women as well. There's a churching of women service in the Anglican Communion. That is about giving thanksgiving. It's not about judging or stigmatisation. I don't know whether it's different in the Roman Catholic Church, and maybe Some of my friends opposite might seek to help me about that, but I really felt that there was a need to clarify that issue, because the churching of women is about giving thanksgiving, actually. It's not about stigmatisation, and I was really struck by the comments that were made in relation to that. But let me say this, as I say, I didn't plan to speak on this matter today, but I felt moved to speak on it because of some of the issues that have been raised today. This past year has taught us much about the fragility of life. I have tried, we have all tried to save lives over this past year. That's what we've been trying to do. In a recent television debate, I think on a Sunday morning, Lord Sumpton dismissed concerns of a clinically vulnerable woman suffering from cancer by describing her as having a life less valuable than the rest of us. Now, rightly, a lot of us were outraged by those comments about lives less valuable. No one's life is less valuable, and this standard should apply to life inside and outside the womb. We are entering, I have to say, into the realms of eugenics, ladies and gentlemen. And if you can deny that all you like, but we're on a very, very slippery slope. And everybody should be very careful about that, because it's Down syndrome and non-fatal disabilities today. What is it in 10 years' time that we are deciding is appropriate for abortion? Think about what you're doing today in this House, and please send a message to those constituents of ours who have non-fatal disabilities, who add so much to the lives of their families and add so much to society. Don't make them feel as if they are second-class citizens, because there is very much evidence out there that if this goes through, that people will feel obliged to go through with abortions, even if in other circumstances they wouldn't have. So I'm asking you to think about this bill today. And whilst we can talk about the rights of women, and nobody is more happy to talk about the rights of women than I, but there should be a recognition that those of us on this side of the House have as much right to talk about the rights of women as anybody else in this House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.